today, live and direct with Ben Gibson, business coach. Someone that I've been working with for a few months now, and it's been a pleasure. How you doing, Ben? How are things on your side?
Yeah, good. A lot better. Had some recent success, which has been awesome.
Fantastic. So tell them a little bit about what you do and why your approach is a bit different. Like, what makes your approach different in terms of what you do and stuff like that.
Yeah, my approach with business is kind of like specifically for the people who don't have, massive audiences, massive amounts of rapport. And I think like one thing in the industry, specifically working with coaches, is kind of like people understanding how to actually communicate with people effectively. Because in this industry, especially, everyone's got the guards up.
Oh my God.
So it's up to us to bring that down, and people just don't know how to do it.
For sure, it's just like almost as though, jumping into the DMs is like jumping into a phone booth with a gorilla. It's like, okay, kill or be killed in a sense, right? Stuff. Yeah. But let's just take it back to before you were working with me, because I know we met in a mastermind and stuff like that. So where were you like previously to work with me? Tell them a bit about your background, and then we'll sort of kind of flip onto some of your more recent success.
Yeah, so beforehand, obviously I think we kind of knew each other from working in like a group coaching program from another kind of like guru, who's great, like taught some great principles. I learned a lot, but it just turned out that maybe, I don't know if it was maybe the group setting or maybe what was being taught wasn't as effective enough. So I think as much as, the hours that I was putting into building the business, the input that I was putting in, something just wasn't working, which means the output wasn't matching the input, if that makes sense.
Okay. No, that makes perfect sense. And so we started working together, and you mentioned the communication styles as well. And I mentioned something called the Sensei 4 Eyes. So moving above from information, because everyone's got the information, right? And it's like, oh, my course is better than yours, to implementation, actually acting upon the information. And then, using insights, and, we use voice notes to kind of give people key insights. And I know that you've developed a wonderful sort of kind of sketch system that you take people through as well, which we can explain. And the top level being identity. And what I love about your approach is that you seem to vibe with people that want to have a good experience, So can you talk a bit about like how you've been working and creating like wonderful experiences for people? Because people might say, oh, how do I get a 5K deal? Or how do I book calls like Ben? People have been saying to me, but it's more than that. How are you creating the experiences for people?
Yeah. So like, obviously taking what I learned from you, you're keen on the whiteboard and visual representation. I kind of took that into my own stride and kind of maybe develop my own system, which kind of, it's kind of like, it's really simple. It just follows, like, all I made was like a little bridge picture image, which maps out for people exactly where they're at right now, where they want to be, and how to get there. And it kind of breaks down all the different aspects of it. Most importantly, understanding what a good offer is. And I think when you can walk people through that effectively and having that visual representation, it kind of like flips a switch in them. And they can, if you don't have a clear roadmap to where you want to be, then you're never going to get there. But if you've got a map, then it makes it a lot easier and simple to follow, essentially.
Yeah, 100%. Like, look at your background, like where you are. There's music, there's books, there's a piano, like keyboard. And I think it screams to your creativity. And so, ultimately, I've sort of kind of given some sort of blueprint, like something that's worked for me. But what I like is that you've sort of kind of made it your own. You're taking strides to sort of kind of personalize things and sort of say, hey, okay, let me add Ben to this, because this is what a lot of people don't do on these coaching programs, right? It's like, hey, okay, here's a coaching program. Let me just try and do what everyone else has done. Let me post a similar post. But it's being able to, all right, that's an okay principle. And before we innovate, we have to replicate, right? But that innovation has to come when, okay, here's the fundamentals, and then let me add my own personal juices to that, if that makes sense.
Yeah, 100%. I think like at the end of the day, what's been effective, something that I realize, it's like I don't have to take everything like word for word and do it exactly as you say. It's like take the principle of it, maybe do something similar, but just find what works for you. And when you do that and you find what kind of is your flow, what flows, I think that's when you start to do like effective work.
Yeah, because I guess you're operating from spirit. Like inspiration means in spirit, right? You know, stuff like everyone's got their jam. I've got my sensei outfit on here. You know, you've got your jam in terms of your music background. So I think what's been on the edge of a few people's lips is, how did your student do it? A few people like, hey, 5K paid in full deal. Look, I'm not sure. So can you talk me through the beginning to the end? How did you meet the client? Like, how did you nurture the client, and how was the deal closed? I think a lot of people would get a lot of value from your approach there.
Yeah, I think the first and foremost important thing is to understand who the ideal client is. Perfect. Because if you know that, if you know what they look like, what problem they're having, then you can go online and think about where they're going to be. And if you can locate them, then you can have a conversation with them. If you can have an effective conversation with them, you can get them on a call. If you can get them on a call, you can close them. So it's just following that simple system, but it all starts fundamentally with understanding a clear picture of who it is that you can help the best.
Yeah, and I think it's what some people take for granted, because they might say, hey, look, hey, I want to serve spiritual coaches, or hey, I want to serve property investors. Like, it's very broad, but it's also thinking about the psychographic over the demographic. And psychographic is, okay, how do they think? What stage are they at? What makes them smile? Like, what sort of coach are they looking for? You know, so I think it's that. And what have you found in terms of your psychographic of your ideal client? Like, what makes them tick, rather than, oh, it's just a coach, right? But what is it exactly that's okay? That's my tribe.
In terms of psychographic, so what kind of, trying to think. So what's the question? Like, what makes them click with me? Is that what you're saying?
So it's like, what makes you think, okay, this client is someone that would work well with me and would take well to my offer? So for example, with my clients, they like the visual aspect of a presentation. Like, they want to teach. My background's teaching, right? So my ideal client is a creative that says, hey, look, I want to teach as well. You know what I mean? Where maybe some people might say, hey, whiteboard, you know, this isn't high school here. You know, I just want to sort of kind of get the questions done and sort of kind of like, I don't want to do that aspect of things. So with your clients, like, what is it that, okay, boom, this is what makes them sort of kind of aligned with myself?
Yeah, I think like with the people that I work with, they're fundamentally passionate about what they're doing. They're probably already good coaches. It's just maybe they haven't locked in the maybe business side of things in terms of like marketing and sales.
Okay.
And I think you can tell like when someone's putting a lot of effort in, because you know they're consistent with it, but you can kind of look at them and understand where things are maybe going wrong from like face value.
Oh, brilliant.
And like you say, like being able to show them, people love, well, especially the people that I've seemed to work with, they love the visual element of it, because not many other people are doing that. So if you can kind of map things out clearly for them visually, it kind of sets you out from the rest.
Yeah, and I think it's finding that unfair advantage and finding something that differentiates you, and I think positions you as well, because we are selling a service, right? And hey, you know, if we're selling this bottle of drink, or if we're selling phones, people can maybe have a look at and see, okay, it's tangible. When it's a service, unless you have that complete confidence in the process yourself, in the transformation and the payoff that they can get, then ultimately, like, it's it's too much out of a risk, right? So it's having those things sort of cinched in.
Yeah.
And sorry.
I was going to say, I think that like conviction is possibly one of the most important pieces of the puzzle, because if you don't have that conviction and you're jumping on, even not even on calls, even if it's like conversations, people can see through that. And especially on calls, if they can see your face and they can see how you're talking and you don't have conviction within yourself, people are going to be able to see through that, which kind of leads to them not buying, obviously.
Yeah, and this is why it's a game of continual growth, continual reading new resources, and really, really trying to get better. One of my present clients actually said today, hey, look, really impressed with how Ben is booking multiple calls and, you know, having the opportunity to make offers to people that could potentially pay him 5K. So I did say, hey, I would ask you to, you know, say what your process is, because this isn't a call where it's like, hey, you know, Ben is doing everything that I say, because I know that I lay out a certain principle and how it's worked for me, but you obviously add your own jazz to it. So, you know, what would be amazing is if you lay out, okay, how are you booking these calls? Because I know tomorrow you've got 3 calls booked in and stuff like that. And, you know, like, how are you booking these calls? Like, what is it that's making people say, yes, Ben, let's hop on a call tomorrow?
Yeah, I think, again, fundamentally, it's knowing who to speak to first, where to find them. If you've got a clear understanding of the client avatar, you know, how they think, what problems they're having, you can find these people. And if you can find them, I think the key is fundamentally just building a genuine relationship with them first.
Oh, wow.
Not going in like spamming them with offers or anything. Be genuine, be human, have a conversation first. And I think what's key is to kind of show them that you're invested in the conversation, then also have them invest in the conversation.
Wow.
And as long as they're the right people, you know, you can move into the side of providing them value first. So going to them and saying, look, I think I might have some things that could potentially help you. Would you be open to hearing? And as soon as you do that, you've got, you know, the authority frame in the conversation. And that's kind of the key. And as long as what you do give them is valuable, there shouldn't be any difficulty in booking that call.
Yeah. And do you have also that sense of detachment that, hey, look, I'm going to give my full, my heart, my mind, my soul's going to go into this help. Look, if you choose to take this and run with it, that's fine. Or if you want to potentially book a call, that's fine. Is it that sense of detachment that ultimately helps? Because I know some people might take it personally when someone says no or something along those lines. But how is the mental side of things? Like when people say no, people ghost, have you sort of kind of learned how to sort of kind of say, hey, all right, you know, that's something that happens? Or
yeah, of course, like not everyone's going to be welcoming to, you know, feedback and advice, but I mean, fact of the matter is a large percentage of people are, like, even the people who you might think might not be that welcome to, you know, having feedback, usually say, yeah, like everyone wants to hear, you know, how they can be doing better. And so what was the how did you phrase the question again?
Yeah, so I guess my question is, I think I've even forgot what the question was. It was more along the lines of the mindset, because I know you had a little break, you know, from things as well, which is always good to like to take a break. I just took a 10-day break, you know, obviously for my dad's funeral, and I was reading some books like to do with stuff like beliefs and all of these things, which helps. So it's, would you say that the booking calls and sales calls, like these sorts of things, are mindset based as well in terms of how you deal with people maybe saying no, or how you deal with your emotions where you're potentially thinking, if I make an offer, they might say no. Like, you know, so you're dealing with that as well. Is that part of it as well, would you say?
Most of business, 80% is business, 80% of business is mindset, 20% is the strategy. And I think when you are, like, as a coach, especially when you are coming from a place of genuinely trying to help people, genuinely trying to serve, like, obviously we know not everyone's going to be perfect. Some people will say no, but that's perfectly fine because there's 100 other people who we can help. So maybe down the line they might come back and say, yeah, now I want your help, but it's perfectly fine to get a no now and then. Like, it's the abundance mindset rather than the scarcity mindset. It's knowing that, look, I'm just trying to help, so no harm done if not, but if not, then there's plenty of more people that can help.
Okay, perfect. Two more questions. So first question is, what would you say is next for you? Like, in terms of, because often in business, it can be a case of, oh, something's working, let me try and do something else. But is it a case of, hey, let me double down on this Facebook organic strategy because I'm booking calls with it and maybe connecting with people that might have slipped through the nets, so to speak, right? Because you're connecting with people that you can help, right? But might not be necessarily connecting with coaches on a sort of basis that you're able to connect, maybe using voice notes and maybe using your charisma and using, just being human with people. So what's next in terms of your business, would you say, next, 1 or 2 months? Like,
Yeah, it's just doubling down again, getting more 5K paid in full deals, just having that consistent high ticket income, really. I think especially when you see like a good bit of success, it's when you get these kind of wins, it's like it just motivates you even more. So it's just about building on that, solidifying it and growing it as much as possible, really.
Some might say to you, Ben, easy for you, like, closing 5K deals and things like this, but it's a saturated market. Like, how am I able to book calls in a market where people are maybe getting pitched 2 or 3 times a day? What would your advice be for them? Like, people that say, it can't be done because who am I? Who am I?
Yeah. I think it's understanding that everyone has their own unique, I don't know, what do you call it? Unique selling point, I suppose.
Okay.
And the reality is like 90+% of the market probably aren't that effective when it comes to like marketing and selling. So just because you see a lot of people making noise doesn't mean that they're actually doing effective work. So just having that kind of belief in yourself and understanding that people buy into you. Like the client who I just brought on, like she was really glad that she found me because we had a good kind of connection, a good vibe, which she mentioned. So it's kind of people vibe with you because of who you are. So just put yourself out there like that.
Good point. What would you say to anyone thinking about potentially working with Jay? Like, what has the difference been in terms of working with me?
With Jay, it's like I think it's the most important thing for me has been the insights. Being able to look at me in the way that I'm doing things and saying, this is possibly where you're falling short, so let's just focus on fixing this. And then once that's fixed, if there's something else, just those unique insights. For me, it was kind of like having the right frameworks, understanding again who the perfect client avatar is. Jay's really good at building offers that are actually answering a market need, because if you've got a solid offer which the market wants and it has product market fit, I always say to my clients, it's like, if you have a poor offer, it's like building a house on quicksand. Like, you need the offer is the foundation to the whole thing, because once you've got a good offer, then you'll be able to find good clients, have good conversations and good sales calls.
No, perfect. And there might be someone out there looking for someone like you to help them. So now's opportunity. If say who your ideal client is and how you can serve them, because you never know, someone might be saying, hey, I'm looking for someone like Ben. So now's your opportunity.
Yeah, I mean, just kind of looking back on where I was, so it's kind of I was at a point where I was putting so much time and effort in. The input was high volume, but the output was low. So to anyone who's kind of frustrated, overwhelmed, they think they've got a solid offer, but they just can't seem to book calls, or if they can book calls, they can't seem to make sales. There's fundamentally something wrong, probably with the offer. And then if it's with the offer, it's just sorting out the DMs, in being able to have good conversations with people. That's kind of all it lays down to. So if you are overwhelmed, you just kind of have any confusion, the input or the output doesn't match the input, let's have a conversation and fix that.
Yeah, and isn't it so great to have the abundance mindset that some people are going to gravitate towards me, some people are going to gravitate towards you, some people gravitate to Melanie and Leah, Baz. There's so many different people out there, and people want different things at different stages. People invest multiple times. So there's more than enough for everybody in a sense, which is absolutely fantastic. So yeah, Ben, you've been great to have on. Really enjoyed speaking with you. And if anyone wants to potentially be in a position like Ben, selling 5K deals, just write sales audit below or send me a DM and I'll be more than happy to speak with you. And yeah, Ben, to more success to you. 10K month this month, brother. 10K month this month. Let's see if we can make that happen. And you'll be down to London first class on a Virgin Pendolino train, right? We'll go to Benny Harness.
Definitely.
The Shard. Okay.
definitely.
Yeah. Thank you all for watching. And I hope you've got some value from it, and to everyone's success.